Labels don't define leaders, but they can limit them if we let them. For too many dyslexic thinkers, the story starts with, I'm not smart enough. But what if the story could shift from, I can't to, I lead differently? Well, today we're diving into how dyslexic leaders can move beyond the limits of labels and unlock the power of self belief. Come on, let's get into it. Welcome back to Transformation Station Podcast, where we explore the mindset shifts, stories, and leadership lessons that help us grow and lead with purpose. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's topic is close to our hearts. That's right, we're talking about empowering dyslexic leaders. Dyslexia is often misunderstood as a weakness, but in reality, it can be a superpower. And I'm so excited about our guest today. Let me tell you a little bit about him. His name is Russell Van Brocklen. Russell Van Brocklen, the dyslexia professor, builds communities that struggle with dyslexia and focuses and works diligently on shifting daily reading frustrations into confident academic wins for students facing dyslexia. Transformation Station, help me welcome our guest today, Russell. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as you know, this topic hits home for a lot of people. Many dyslexic leaders spend years, sometimes decades, Russell, hearing messages that make them question their intelligence, their worth, or their capability. So I want to start off by asking you this question. You often say that dyslexic learners are specialists, not generalists. What do you mean by that? And how can a leader with dyslexia channel their deep passion or interest to help them learn better?
Well, I learned that when I first, just a little backstory to answer that question, because it's an excellent one. It goes to the heart of what I do.
Mhm.
In the late 90s, I went to the assembly internship program because I wanted to know how laws work. I went
Mhm.
in with a first grade reading and writing level, and they said, this is not going to work in this internship. So they put me in the Majority Leaders Program and Counsel's office in the Capitol, where there's 3 administrative assistants where they could help me with my horrendous writing. For the research project, they gave an oral presentation, which was a standard accommodation for me back then.
Mhm.
Well, they recommended 15 credits of A minus,
Mhm.
but the political science department at the State University of New York in Buffalo didn't like my accommodations. So they
Mhm.
gave me 15 credits of F.
Mhm.
Think
Mercy.
about it. I was supposed to get A minus for 15 credits, and I got 15 credits of F because I was dyslexic.
Mm.
Okay. Now, where does the speciality come in? I got sick of this. I was sick of the discrimination. So I went to my professors and I asked, where can I be forced to learn to read and write in grad school so I can show other dyslexics? And they kind of laughed and said, law school.
Mhm.
So found a dyslexic professor called Professor Warner, and I went to audit a couple of law school classes. So what happens in law school, if you're interested, there's a famous movie about this called The Paper Chase in the 1970s. You walk into law school, they ask you questions using the Socratic method. Nobody knows the answer. Then they keep asking you questions to embarrass you,
Mm.
go on to the next victim until you can adapt to the system.
Mm.
That didn't happen to me. The exact opposite happened to me. So
Mhm.
so he calls on me my second day of contracts. For the first time, everything slows down and it organizes. I can
Mm.
just see things clearly for the first time in my life. And I answer Professor Warner. Then well, okay, I didn't crush him. Then he asked me another question. I answer him. That goes back and forth until he starts getting a little snarky. I get a little snarky back. Within a minute, I'm leaning forward, yelling at him. He's leaning forward, yelling at me. This
Mm.
goes on 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then he
Mhm.
says, Russell, for the interest of time, I have to move on to the next case. You couldn't be any more correct. My
Mm.
classmates years later said they still can't do this, not to a
Mhm.
professor. So
Mhm.
I solved reading within a month, writing within a couple of years. This was my specialty. I was really good at law school. Okay. And it just hit me instantly that I essentially solved law school during that conversation back and forth. So what do I mean by speciality? When I talked to so many dyslexic professors afterwards, they had the same experience. From kindergarten through college, we really are becoming generalists with very little specific knowledge until a little bit the last 2 years of college. But once you enter graduate school, day one, dyslexic professors told me they're top of their class day one or soon thereafter, because now you're in this very narrow field that they're extraordinarily interested in and that they've been developing all their lives.
I love that. I love that. So as you were talking, I was thinking about this quote, and tell me what you think about it. When passion meets purpose, learning stops feeling like work. For dyslexic leaders, curiosity isn't a distraction, it's the pathway to mastery. And I think that's kind of what I got that from what you were talking about. You were in this situation, right? Instead of them giving you an A, they gave you an F. And instead of just sitting back and saying, you know what, I'm going to accept this F and going down that path, you started asking, you let your curiosity, how can I channel this into a different path where I can master? And you went into the law path and was able to move forward. And for our listeners and our viewers here in Transformation Station, we always give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to stop and to have a moment of assessment where we kind of process what's being said. And so every leader that's listening and watching right now, whether this is your personal struggle or someone in your family, if someone in your team or yourself, I want to invite you right now, Russell and I invite you right now to pause and just stop and assess whether your challenge is dyslexia or a different one. How are you processing it? Do you have the patience and do you have the inspiration within you like Russell did to say, I'm not going to let this stop me, hold me back here, but I'm going to see how I can push forward. I love that. So Russell, one thing that really stands out when talking with dyslexic leaders is how much confidence and resilience shapes their journey, just like what you shared with us. From your perspective, what role does confidence and resilience play in helping dyslexic leaders not just survive, but helping them to thrive?
Well, it really is at the core of who we are. So what happens as we go through school is one of three things. And it's very much like a dumbbell, very much on the ends and not much in the middle. We either become incredibly motivated and just attack anything as hard as we can, or students become shattered as a person, or in the middle ground, they might muddle through. So for the students that become incredibly motivated and go through, the problem is we're in a situation where we're constantly banging our head against the wall. How can we operate more efficiently? How can we get things done so our motivation will allow us to help others? And for that, I want to go to the hard science and to give you a basic 3-point model on how dyslexics learn and process information far more effectively. So for that, I'm going to show you a book. This is the top book in my field, Overcoming Dyslexia by Dr. Sally Shaywitz from Yale, medical doctor. And I'm going to show you dyslexia, page 78, figure 23. This is dyslexia. Do you see how in the back part of the dyslexic brain, I have almost no neural activity, but the neural activity of the gen ed brain is really going extremely active? All right. So now look at the front part of the brain. The front part of the brain is approximately 2.5 times overactive. That's 2.5 times. So my idea when dealing with this is let's stop focusing on the back part of the brain where we have almost no neural activity. Let's focus on the front part. So what I found is, according to Yale, it's articulation followed by word analysis. So what I did right after I solved my own issues, I wanted the New York State Senate to fund my research. Took years, had to go through the education department and so many other ones. We started off with the most motivated, intelligent high school juniors and seniors who were dyslexic. They were reading and writing at the 7th, 8th grade level. So in one class period a day for the school year, we increase their writing skills to the average range of entering graduate school students, not college, graduate students. They all went on to college. They all graduated, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6, no accommodations, cost to New York State for under $900. Okay? So that was articulation followed by word analysis. But then as I tried to get this out to more general use, that wasn't working as effectively. So what I did is I flipped the bottom one to word analysis followed by articulation. But to get the most out of dyslexic accomplished adults, we have to start off with their speciality. So we have to find out what is a leader's area of extreme interest and ability. So what I tell them is, I want you to think, it's a Saturday morning. You can do anything that you want to do. What is it? And they'll tell me, well, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I like to do. I said, okay, that's your speciality. That's what we really need to get you into. But when you're trying to process information, tell your subordinates and the people above you, do not ask you a general to a specific question. You know, so typically in our educational system, we start off with something very broad and then we get specific. For dyslexics, that's like grabbing fog. We can't do it. So it's like, so don't ask, for example, what effect did Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech have in the American Civil Rights Movement? We don't know what to do. Don't ask a dyslexic that question. Ask a specific to a general question. What personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? So when you ask that specific to a general, you find the information. That an answer will provide another question. You answer it, and we keep going down. And here's the key point. That forces your brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Why? Because if you ask a dyslexic person or ADD or ADHD, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? They're going to say yes. So we force the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output in your area of that's your speciality. And then at the bottom, we do that by focusing on word analysis followed by articulation. If you do that, you're going to become a much more effective leader. You'll be able to communicate exactly what you're trying to get across. And because of that, I find that subordinates and superiors tend to give you a lot more respect.
Wow. That was powerful right there. So to everyone listening, right, one of the great takeaways is we go from the specific to the general. Helps to organize and process and to really give that resilience and confidence that we're looking for. So let me ask you this question, right? Many dyslexic leaders grow up battling the I'm dumb narrative. What strategies can help reframe that mindset into one of strength and self-belief?
Well, that's right. So what happens is we grow up like that. And what I try to tell leaders is a lot of times they will go and get their associate's degree or their bachelor's degree and they'll just stop. And what I'll tell them is, I know you've been through hell, but go into a graduate program. For most of them, that's a master's degree. And I've had so many leaders that I've spoke to over the last 20 years say, yeah, but school's not for me. I said, yes, it is. Just get into your master's degree. So finally they would go and they would get in and then they'd walk in and they notice that something has changed drastically. So for what you're getting your education in elementary school education,
right?
Do people really care if you could do advanced calculus?
No.
No, they don't care. All they care about is your ability in a master's degree to do this very narrowly focused area and to start off, do the value add. And like for what you did with students, you would have 20, 30 students at the beginning of the year. They had to get someplace at the end. They're all having trouble getting there for some reason. You solved it for the vast majority of them, and you were successful at the end of the year. That's what a master's degree is. And then for the first time, the dyslexic finds out, I am really, really good at this. All right. The complaint that I've been getting over the decades is that the only thing holding them back is their writing ability. So what I specifically work with leaders on is, for me, a lot of us use ChatGPT. When ChatGPT Pro came out last December of 2024, I bought it that day for $200, and it has been a godsend for me ever since. All right, I use that as my writer, but I'm telling it what to do. I'm explaining it it's not doing my thinking, it's doing my grunt work and my writing for me. So now with that, what we find is that when we apply that ethically to our graduate programs, the students, these leaders, can now go in and produce absolutely first-rate work extraordinarily well very quickly. Because while we will always read slower and traditionally write slower than our peers, we can think in orders of magnitude faster. And that's where it's really helpful. So, for example, what I train some dyslexic leaders in, for like when I'm doing my daily work, I have 2 pro accounts, 5 pros doing things at the same time. They take 10, 15 minutes to do each step. And then I'm over here working on Anthropic, using Sonic 4.5, doing the simple stuff, answering emails, that sort of thing. That's what I do through most of the day. And it has made me literally over 5 times more productive. And now with the writing shackles released from us, we can now be extraordinarily productive once the leaders have gone through their master's program.
I love this. I love this. So, pretty much what you're reminding us right now is that there are resources out there. There's technology out there. We can't be afraid to use it to be able to help us, to assist us, right? With how we're able to be productive. Also, I was thinking about this, when we talk about what strategies can reframe our mindset, we also want to invite, those of us who may struggle with dyslexia, right, or something similar, create supportive environments around mentorship and community. That's really key, right? Seeing other dyslexic leaders thrive challenges internalized limitations. So don't isolate yourself, but look around, get mentors, right? Just like Russell said, he talked to dyslexic professors and he watched them and listened and got tips and strategies from them in order to move forward. We invite you to do the same. And Russell, there's one more that I'm thinking of, as well as practice compassionate self-talk, right? Teach leaders to speak to themselves as they would to someone they're mentoring, with empathy, not criticism. And we share this best practice to those who you may have someone who is dyslexic on your team, right? Teach them to practice some compassionate self-talk. We got to remove that I'm dumb with I'm determined, right? I'm brilliant. I'm able. I'm capable. That helps as well. So, Russell, I want to ask you this question, right? How can parents, teachers, mentors recognize and affirm the unique gifts of dyslexic thinkers instead of focusing on their challenges?
Well, the first thing you need to do is we have to get these kids to grade level. And until then, it's just near impossible. The problem is once the kids turn 9, because K through 3rd grade, we learn to read. 4th and above, we read to learn. And the research clearly shows if you're at grade level at the end of 3rd grade in reading, you're pretty much going to be okay. If you're below, it's going to be a nightmare. It's literally an academic 911. So how can we teach these children? Let me give you an example how effective the process I gave you is. I'm currently drafting out my book. It's going to be called Literacy and Reading Dyslexia Turnaround. And it's a story about when I was working with Kimberly and her son Reed. We're recording this in October of 2025. I met Reed and Kimberly in late December of 2024. Kimberly just had Reed tested by the state of Ohio. She's a homeschooling mom, and he was a year and a half behind. If he were to continue, if he was in a public school continuing for the end of the school year, he was supposed to increase by 1.86 points. That didn't happen. He increased by 20 points, 11 times faster not twice as fast, not triple, 11 times.
Wow.
Okay. Here's why this is so important. Reed's friends came to him last summer and said, Reed, we want you in public school with us for social reasons, to eat lunch, to be in class, to do things on the playground. We want you in school with us. If he tried to do that in January, he wouldn't have happened. He would have been placed in special ed. We wouldn't know really how to help him. It would have caused all these issues. But because of what Kimberly did, because she did what parents dream about, Reed entered 6th grade, and he's doing just fine in general classes. The school actually retested him on his way in. Kimberly was not anywhere near it, not within miles. What was the result? His reading and writing were at the end of 5th grade, beginning 6th grade, week into school. And now he's doing just fine. So that's how powerful, if you follow those steps, find the kid's speciality. We found the audiobook he's interested in, the printed book that goes with it. Teaching from the specific to the general, then word analysis followed by articulation. Kimberly was 11 times faster. And she wasn't working him like crazy. These were 3 half-hour sessions a week, and I worked with her half an hour a week to make this happen.
I love this. I love this. So let's take it from children to leaders in the workplace, right? And as we turn the corner here, here's the question. What best practices can organizations and workplaces adopt to support dyslexic leaders and nurture environments where their strengths still shine?
Well, the number one by far is to sit down with the dyslexic leaders. Let me give you an example. Shark Tank. There are 6 sharks. I ask people all the time, how many do you think are dyslexics? And dyslexics make up less than 10% of the population. People generally confuse, maybe 1, perhaps maybe 2, but they think generally 1. Actually, half of them are dyslexic. Mr. Wonderful, Damien, and Barbara. So that's half of them. What does this tell you about dyslexic leaders? Well, dyslexics who make it past college are generally people who, they've been through college, they figured out how to get past all this. And they tend to be very personable. You work for any company run by a dyslexic, John Chambers from Cisco, Sir Richard Branson, you're generally going to find these are excellent places to work for because the dyslexic has been through hell and they want to treat everybody nicely. But what can upper management do to groom and to bring along dyslexic leaders? Sit down and find out really what's their speciality. What are they really good at? What are they really interested in? And I can tell you it can get really specific and they need to focus on that area. Like, let me give you an example.
Yes.
One of my clients he's very big into chemistry, really liked a very arcane, small part of chemistry. So what did his company finally do? They put him in that area. And he was so wildly productive that before you know it, he didn't have only 1 assistant. He had 2 assistants. He had all these people reporting to him. And finally, he had to go to his bosses and say, listen, I'm a practitioner. I'm not a manager. I can only work with so many people. All right. Other dyslexics are different. They're managers, but are good practitioners, and they can go up the corporate ladder. But for this particular client, they found an optimum space for him, and it was so productive. This was before artificial intelligence. He was not only worth 1 assistant, he was worth 2.
Nice. Okay, so this propels me to ask you one final question.
Hello?
Listeners, our viewers, when it comes to this.
I'm sorry, we just had a big dead spot.
Yeah, so I'm going to invite you right now to just share one final word. What final word of encouragement, motivation, or inspiration would you want to share with our leaders who are in Transformation Station when it comes to this topic here?
Well, the best thing that I can tell you is you really do need to follow the model that I laid out, which is find out what your speciality is, focus on learning from the specific to the general, and then do word analysis followed by articulation. But how do you apply that to your individual situations? If that's what, if that usually requires an individual consultation where I can walk you through things. So the best thing to do if you want to learn how to apply this to yourself is just go on to my website, dyslexiaclasses.com, and you're going to see a contact me form there. Fill that out, and I'll get right back to you. We'll set up a time. I'll give you a free hour where we can walk through your concerns, and I can show you how applying these processes can help you increase your productivity tremendously.
Fantastic. Russell, it has been an honor to have you here on Transformation Station. As always, we invite our community to tap in, reach out to our guests. And so Transformation Station, you heard Russell, he has resources. The website is here. You'll also see it in the description box. So please go ahead and reach out to Russell. Matter of fact, let him know that you saw or watched this particular episode. Let him know what resonated with you. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he will respond back. Russell, thank you so much again. It's been wonderful to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Well, there you have it. This has been a beautiful reminder that leadership is not about fitting into a mold. It's about embracing the way we were designed to think, to create, and to lead. For dyslexic leaders and for all of us, self-belief begins when we stop putting labels on us that limit us and start seeing our differences as strengths. If this episode has encouraged you, I invite you to share it with someone who needs to hear it, maybe a colleague, a student, or a friend who's learning to lead in their own way. And be sure to tune in every Monday and Wednesday for a new episode of the Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where we explore stories and strategies that help you grow, lead, and live with purpose. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, all right? Well, until next time, keep leading with courage, with passion, and with authenticity.